Kim, as we talk about kind of words and buzzwords that are happening right now, I think flexibility is the one that seems to be coming up the most as part of upfront conversations, or just in general as our clients think about needing to commit to future investments. And there's always been this risk reward and trade-off about what long-term partnership commitments upfronts mean. So when you guys think about flexibility, I mean, for us, it could mean so many different things. It could mean I can get out of more money closer to air date. It means I could shift money around. How are you guys thinking about flexibility? How do you work that into your business planning? Because it has a huge impact for you guys too. You've built a model that's been around for quite some time. And actually, if I could ask, maybe as you think about, coming from the publishing world, like, are there things that you learned in that space that you're like, oh, I wish I'd known that then, or now that I do know this, how do you bring that into this space?
Sure. It's a great set of questions. On the last one first, I would say, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Hindsight is always 2020, but yes, over the last 10 years, I've been at Time Inc. and Condé Nast and Say Media, all in the digital publishing and print publishing space. And that is an industry that has undergone radical transformation in that same decade, even a little bit before. And what I would say, as far as what I'm hoping to bring from that experience into AMC Networks is a lot of what I actually really solidified for me when I was at Say Media, and that is a lot of it is cultural. The notion of really conducting business in a culture of urgency, a very kind of lean forward where your nose is almost touching the ground, kind of into innovation and advancements of industry. Those things became critical skills for the teams to conduct themselves with when things started moving at a pace that was almost, it felt like you could almost not tolerate. And then it started going faster when the revenue just started dropping out of our traditional, monetization streams. We had to change everything overnight. And all of a sudden what you saw was your biggest barriers were internal and were oftentimes cultural. So a lot of what I'm hoping to bring into AMC Networks, which actually seems perfectly primed for the conversation because of our size, and the nimbleness that's associated with that size. Well, let's go is kind of the attitude. We can make decisions quickly. We can forge partnerships quickly, and we can kind of drive, be a driver on the innovation side. And I think that's manifested in our distribution strategy. I think that's manifested, which I'd love to talk a little bit. It's manifested in our buying strategy. We're not one size fits all. And frankly, the notion of us being a cable company at our core, we don't own an AVOD. We have a developing SVOD strategy that has been verticalized for the most part to date, and a number of other things. Like we know exactly what we are, and we are looking forward to partnerships and innovation on expanding that footprint. So I've actually had just the best experience you could imagine in the last 9 months, and everyone seems ready to go. But so much of it is actually letting people know that we're going to try a lot of things. It's going to take a lot of work. Some of it's going to work really well. Some of it's going to be a huge failure. All of that is great. And we're going to just and that's just going to be the way it is now moving forward. And we're all going to stay employed here or elsewhere. We're all going to have that critical skill set that you need to have to thrive in the industry. And we're going to bring each other along best we can in that wild ride.
Yeah. In a way, there's like a spoil of riches for us. There are so many good ideas. And I say this a lot, like for your side, we meet with people and there's so rarely a bad idea. Like the intent of all of the change that's happening is good. Everybody's trying to find a new way to be more effective, to be more efficient, to help businesses grow. So the intent is there. And I love your sentiment about let's go. Like that's got to be the number one thing, right? Like we have to try these things. They may not be perfect. They may not be as scaled as buying a traditional unit in The Walking Dead 5 years ago where I just met, 20 million people, no problem, and I move on. Like we need to think of different ways to do that because consumers are completely viewing television and video differently. And that's only been accelerated by what's happened in the last 14 weeks. So as buyers, and I think as sellers, I mean, I've always thought them really critical that you have all three parties involved, right? We need buyer, seller, and client all at the table, mutually deciding how do we move forward. So that's partnership. Speed is critical because if we wait for the perfect solution, we will be waiting forever. I mean, even our current measurement systems of the last 20 years across all channels aren't perfect, but they became what we traded against. So now let's change that. And let's say, ultimately, I'm trying to help my clients sell and your clients sell one more product. So how do we move that off the shelf? And I love that theory of let's go do something different. So as we think about consumers, they control all of this, right? Like they're the end game, that we need them to buy something. So let's go find them where they're watching. So as you think about your content, I mean, previous to you a little bit, but you can take some credit if you want. You put Walking Dead on Sunday nights at 9 and everybody showed up to watch it because it was buzzworthy. And I think in particular in cable, or even if you look at Netflix now, the top 10 shows, they change every day because people come in and come out, and this cable network's up and this cable network's flat, and you never know like what's going to drive that. But how do you guys think about your content distribution strategy, knowing that it's not Sundays at 9, Thursdays at 8, it's just get it to as many people? So how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're bringing up such great points. I feel like it's all of the above. So, the reality is appointment viewing, while not the norm anymore, is still hugely important to a large audience. So we still have 2 million people logging in on Sunday night, and they like that notion of appointment viewing. That's how they like to watch The Walking Dead. And while that number is not 10 million, it is still of substance. And we're the largest show on cable and have been for 10 years running. So that's something we still take very seriously and still very much service that audience. But to your point, finding new audiences or audiences that have cord shaved or cord cut is really essential too, because they want to see it as well. And so that onus we take on ourselves. And so, for example, we just recently, a month ago, announced a partnership with Pluto, where we launched a channel just on Pluto, exclusive to them, called AMC Stories. And we released the first 5 seasons of The Walking Dead on that. That AVOD audience is a very different audience than the cable audience, the traditional cable audience. Very likely, many of them, because of their age or other demographics, never have subscribed to cable. So we look at this, and so I think it's a fascinating moment in time. So when we were looking into our libraries, and like many content companies have found, that season 1 of Walking Dead is hugely valuable right now, because there's a whole new audience of people that are ready to discover it. And I don't know if you have kids in your life who have just discovered Friends or Seinfeld like my children have, but I'm like, really, you've just discovered this great new show. But we're finding the same thing with The Walking Dead and several of our other programs. People are discovering them for the first time, taking credit for that, which is totally fine. And that's tied to us being more thoughtful about where we're putting it. We launched a partnership with Reddit, where we're creating Walking Dead content for the Reddit subreddits. They lit up. So our show was on Sunday nights, to your point, live. And then as soon as it ended, after Talking Dead, we watched all the viewers still want to talk about it, and they jumped onto Reddit. So we were watching that trend, and Jen Wong and I got together and said, let's service this viewership. They want more. And so it's following those audiences, discovering new audiences, and really kind of a lot of it is the psychology, going back to the culture of letting go best you can. Obviously, contractual relationships, longstanding in some cases, are prohibitive to that, and actually can guide where the program can ultimately live. But we're really working to navigate those and super serve that viewer, new or existing, best we can. And I feel like that's what you and I and our teams, our respective teams, are talking about more and more, and bringing to the clients. So it's educating them on how do we follow this viewer, and what does engagement look like, and is it good on one platform? How do we actually do the performance monitoring we need to know what's really working on these different platforms? So I'm with you 100%. And I think as long as we keep the viewer at the center, we're going to win, and we're going to figure this out together, because where the viewer is, the clients and the advertising will always follow if they can.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said two things in there. I think content, it's a bit cliche, but content is king. That's what people are looking for. TV is still really powerful in its own right. Linear TV is still a tremendously powerful platform, but to grow, we do need to listen and watch what consumers are doing to find that net new reach. I think I saw one stat that said of all that growth that Nielsen was reporting in those first few weeks, 83% of it was heavy TV users just watching more, right? So how do we find the people that are going to other platforms? And, I think that's where effectiveness comes in, and things like addressability and targeting and data come in. And I know you guys have recently signed on to OpenAP. I had a chat with Evan about it a couple weeks ago. But I think addressability in particular, and even how we think about buying AMC across other platforms, the availability of that inventory. So on our side, we have a bit of a challenge around managing that, right? Managing frequency and that part of the consumer experience, and finding the right inventory. But on your side, I think you guys have done a great job stepping up and bringing addressability and optimization into your ecosystem. So like, what are the steps that you guys have taken there? And I think it probably ties back to your let's go mentality of, yeah, let's just go try it. Let's try as many things as we can, and it won't all be perfect, but we'll be better than when we started. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I think the mentality, at least that Evan Adelman and I have, and him coming on board was a big part of this, but it's my opinion that this is not perfect yet. It's a work in progress. And if you accept that, saying there's one best way to transact, I think it's a little premature, in my opinion. So our mentality was, well, we have a viewers first mentality on distribution. Let's develop a buyers first mentality around how we transact, and not say, again, one size fits all when we're not there yet, in our opinion. So partnering around the great things that OpenAP are doing and exposing our inventory in that marketplace is key. We also partnered with Xandr on Invest TV, if that is a preferred transaction partnership. But then we also worked really hard, and we worked with you guys to onboard with M1, for example, which was also a really key component to we have nothing to kind of hide and everything to gain by trying to show how well our audience is going to perform against your KPIs. But we've got to be in the game. We've got to be able to transact the way you need us to transact. And we've got to be data-led and insight-informed. And I feel like all of that combination is perfect. To your point, it's not great yet. Like, there's still, I think duplication is a real issue. And I think that the best way to do that is to partner around it. So where are our controls? Where are your controls? And together, can we both take the accountability and responsibility of creating the best viewer experience, which ultimately will lead to the best engagement and the best performance, and the most optimized and efficient buy for the client, so they do it again. Like, I don't mean to oversimplify, but I feel like if we can come together as partners and just kind of put what we know and have learned on the table, learn from things that haven't gone well, but don't let that define the relationship. It's too early to let anything define a relationship in this space. So I'm hugely, obviously, encouraged and enthusiastic about where the industry is going, and feel like we're kind of, let's go, we're in, is our attitude on this. It's also, we're taking place in all three pilots on addressability. So Project Door, We're part of the Nielsen pilot group, and then we launched on addressability with Charter Cox and Comcast last week. And so it's all happening now.
Yeah, I think if anything, you know, as an industry, as much as we've committed to change, we do have to be bolder. And we do have to, and again, this is why having everybody involved is so critical. It can't just be seen as a win for you, a win for us, or a win for the client. Like, it needs to be a win for everybody. There's endless opportunity. And I think that we're right at the precipice of kind of making all of that happen. And hopefully we'll continue to drive that forward together.